You have probably noticed how we spend our entire lives looking for someone to blame for our restlessness. We point fingers at the traffic that delays us, at the boss who pressures us, at the partner who doesn't understand us, at the world that doesn't bend to our wishes. We construct a comfortable narrative where we are always the victims of external circumstances, where our inner peace depends on everything around us aligning perfectly with our expectations. But what if I told you that the greatest enemy of your peace is not outside, but inside you? And what if all this external searching is nothing more than a desperate escape from looking at where the problem truly resides? The truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding is this: we are the architects of our own suffering. Not because we consciously choose to suffer, but because we carry within us a silent adversary that works tirelessly against our own tranquility. This enemy does not use visible weapons, does not shout or threaten openly. It operates in the shadows of our mind, whispering thoughts that keep us trapped in endless cycles of anxiety, frustration, and dissatisfaction. And the most curious thing is that this enemy is not something separate from you. It is you, or rather, it is the part of you that has not yet learned to be silent. Think of the moments when you felt truly at peace. How many times did that peace really depend on perfect external conditions? You will probably remember instances where, even amidst chaos, something inside you simply quieted down. Perhaps it was a sunrise you witnessed, an unexpected hug, or simply a moment of pause where you stopped fighting against reality. In those moments, the world around you did not change, the circumstances remained the same, but something inside you relaxed. This is the secret that the greatest enemy of your peace does not want you to discover. Peace has never been in the circumstances. It has always been in your relationship with them. When you truly understand this, not just intellectually but viscerally, your entire life transforms. You realize that you have been at war with yourself, fighting against thoughts, resisting emotions, judging experiences, creating internal divisions where there should only be serene observation. This inner enemy that torments us so much is built on resistance, denial, unfulfilled expectations, attachments that insist on remaining even when life asks you to let go. The human mind is an extraordinary creator of problems where there are none. It takes a neutral situation and wraps it in layers and layers of interpretation, judgment, comparison, and projection until it becomes unrecognizable. You do not see reality as it is. You see reality filtered through all your beliefs, fears, and conditioning accumulated over the years. It's like trying to see a landscape through a window, completely covered in dust and dirt. You believe you are seeing the world, but you are only seeing the smudges on your own window. And the worst part is that you don't even realize it. You firmly believe that the problem is out there, that if only that person would change, if only that situation would resolve, if only you could achieve what you so desire, then you would finally find peace. But how many times have you achieved something you believed was the key to happiness, only to discover that restlessness remained? How many times have external circumstances improved, but you continued to feel empty inside? This happens because you are looking in the wrong direction, searching for the solution where the problem has never been. The greatest enemy of your peace is this mental mechanism that insists on dividing reality between what should be and what is, between what you accept and what you reject. It creates a constant war between you and life, a perpetual tension where you're always trying to force reality to conform to your ideas of how things should be. And when reality inevitably refuses to obey, because reality has no obligation to adjust to your expectations, you suffer. Not because reality is cruel, but because you are in conflict with what is. Imagine the absurd amount of energy you spend daily resisting what you cannot change, fighting against thoughts that appear involuntarily, trying to control situations over which you have no control, judging yourself for not living up to some impossible ideal you created. This is the battle that exhausts you, that robs your vitality, that prevents you from experiencing life fully, because you are always in your head, always planning, always worried, always somewhere that is not here and now. The cruel irony is that the more you fight for peace, the more it slips away from you. It's like trying to hold water with closed hands. The more force you exert, the less water you can retain. Inner peace is not something you achieve through effort. It is not a goal to be reached in the future when you have finally resolved all your problems. Inner peace is what remains when you stop creating internal war, when you abandon resistance, when you allow yourself to simply be without the constant need to judge, evaluate, or change what is happening. This does not mean passivity. It does not mean that you should not act in the world or seek to improve your life. It means that you act from a place of acceptance and not resistance. You respond to life instead of reacting against it. You participate in the flow instead of fighting against the current. If you have come this far on this journey of understanding, I make a request. Subscribe to the channel to continue exploring these truths that can transform your life. Leave in the comments your city and show that this message is reaching people everywhere. And if this content resonated with you, leave your like so that more people can find their way back to themselves. The greatest enemy of your peace has many faces, but they all share one fundamental characteristic. They live only in your mind. This internal adversary feeds on memories of the past that you insist on carrying, as if they were mandatory baggage for the future. It thrives on worries about things that have not yet happened and probably never will. This enemy flourishes in the constant comparison between you and others, in the perpetual feeling of inadequacy that arises when you measure your reality against some impossible standard you absorb from society, family, or the culture you are part of. It grows every time you completely identify with your thoughts, believing that you are that voice in your head that never stops commenting, judging, and criticizing everything, including yourself. The liberating truth that can dismantle this enemy is simple yet profound. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes the thoughts. You are the silent space in which thoughts appear and disappear like clouds passing through the sky. When you truly recognize this, when you experience, even for a moment, this separation between the observer and the observed, something fundamental transforms in your life experience. Think about how you treat your own thoughts. Do you believe each one of them as if they were absolute truths revealed by some supreme authority? If your mind says you are not good enough, you believe it. If it says the future will be catastrophic, you worry. If it insists on repeatedly revisiting some humiliation from the past, you obey and relive the pain as if it were happening now. But have you ever stopped to question the reliability of that voice? Have you noticed how many times it is completely wrong? How many times have you intensely worried about something that never materialized? How many times have you judged yourself harshly only to realize later that you were being unfair to yourself? The mind is an extraordinary tool when used correctly, but it is a terrible master when you allow it to take complete control of your life. The greatest enemy of your peace is precisely this blind identification with every thought that crosses your awareness, this belief that you must obey, believe, and act according to every mental impulse that arises. The inner peace you seek does not require you to eliminate all negative thoughts. That would be impossible and counterproductive. What is necessary is that you change your relationship with them, that you develop the ability to observe them without getting lost in them, to recognize them without identifying with them. It's like sitting by the bank of a river watching the waters flow. You see the thoughts flowing, but do not throw yourself into the current to be swept away by it. This capacity for detached observation is not something mystical or reserved only for monks in distant monasteries. It is a natural ability that everyone possesses, but most have forgotten how to access. You have experienced this in moments of complete absorption, in an activity when you were so present in what you were doing that the incessant voice of thought temporarily silenced. In those moments, you were not worried, you were not judging, you were not comparing, you were simply being completely present and alive in the current moment. And in those moments, where was your greatest enemy? It had disappeared, not because you fought against it, but because you stopped feeding it with your attention. The great illusion that keeps you trapped is the belief that your inner peace depends on external circumstances. You believe you will be happy when you get that job, when you find that relationship, when you achieve that goal, when you finally solve all the problems that currently afflict you. But this is a cruel trap, because there will always be another problem, another challenge, another imperfect circumstance. Life never stops presenting situations that the mind can use as an excuse to deny peace. If you condition your inner peace to the absence of problems, you will never be at peace because problems are an inherent part of the human experience. The secret is not in eliminating external challenges, but in finding the place within you that remains untouched regardless of what happens around you. That place exists. It has always existed. You just forgot it because you are constantly distracted by the superficial turbulence of thoughts and emotions. It is like the bottom of the ocean that remains calm and silent even when there are violent storms on the surface. That silent depth is your true nature. It is the peace you seek, and it has never gone anywhere. You just stop paying attention to it. The greatest enemy of your inner peace strengthens every time you believe you need to be different from who you are to deserve peace. Every time you judge yourself as inadequate, every time you unfavorably compare yourself to others, every time you reject aspects of yourself, you feed this internal adversary. Genuine self-acceptance is not resignation or conformity. It does not mean that you should not seek growth or improvement. It means that you recognize that at this very moment, with all your imperfections and limitations, you are worthy of peace, you are worthy of love, you are enough. This deep acceptance does not come from the ego that wants to feel superior. It comes from the simple recognition that you are a unique expression of life, as valid and valuable as any other. When you truly understand this, the compulsive need to prove your worth disappears, the constant comparison with others loses its meaning, and you allow yourself to simply exist without the incessant pressure to be someone different. In this space of acceptance, the internal enemy loses its power because there is no more resistance for it to exploit, no more rejection for it to manipulate. You are finally at peace with yourself, and this peace naturally radiates into all areas of your life. Recognizing that the greatest enemy of your inner peace is within you is not a sentence of condemnation. It is liberating news. Because if the enemy were external, you would be at the mercy of circumstances, completely powerless to find peace, while the world around you remained imperfect. But since the adversary is internal, you have direct access to it. You have the possibility to transform this dynamic entirely. Not through more struggle, because fighting against your own thoughts and emotions is precisely what strengthens the enemy. But through awareness, through observation, through radical acceptance of what is. This journey does not happen overnight. There is no magic shortcut where you read a few inspiring words and suddenly all your mental programming dissolves. But there is a path, a gradual process of awakening where you slowly free yourself from the invisible shackles you have created throughout your life. And this path begins with a single step, realizing that there is a problem, acknowledging that you have been at war with yourself, and that this war cannot be won, only abandoned. The most powerful practice to dismantle the greatest enemy of your peace is simply to observe. Observe your thoughts without judging them. Observe your emotions without drowning in them. Observe your behavior patterns without fully identifying with them. When you become the observer, you automatically create a space between you and the content of your mind. And in that space, there is freedom. There is choice. There is the possibility to respond consciously instead of reacting automatically. You realize that a thought of anger can arise without you needing to act with anger, that a thought of worry can appear without you needing to get lost in worry, that an uncomfortable emotion can be present without you needing to flee from it or suppress it. This ability to be with what is, without resistance and without identification, is the key that opens the door to genuine and lasting inner peace. It is not a peace that depends on everything being perfect around you. It is a peace that remains even when there is chaos, challenges, and uncertainties in your external life. The greatest enemy of your peace also manifests through psychological time, this tendency of the mind to constantly live in the past or the future. When you are mentally revisiting past mistakes, reliving old wounds, lamenting missed opportunities, you are not here. You are trapped in a time that no longer exists. When you are constantly worried about the future, obsessively planning, fearing imagined catastrophes, anticipating problems that may never materialize, you are also not here. You are lost in a time that does not yet exist and may never exist as you imagine. The only moment that truly exists is this one now. And ironically, it is the only moment that most people systematically ignore. Your life is happening now, not in the past that you cannot change, not in the future that you cannot fully control. Now is where life breathes, where peace resides, where you can truly live instead of just existing on autopilot while your mind endlessly wanders between memories and projections. When you bring your attention to the present moment, when you truly inhabit the now with full awareness, the internal enemy loses its strength because it can only operate in the dimension of psychological time. You may be wondering how to apply this practically in your daily life, how to transform these concepts into lived experience. The answer is surprisingly simple, though not necessarily easy. Pay attention. Pay attention to the small things that usually go unnoticed while you are lost in thoughts. Feel the water touching your skin when you wash your hands. Really feel it instead of doing it mechanically while your mind plans the next task. Listen to the sounds around you without immediately labeling them, without judging them as pleasant or unpleasant. Just listen. Observe your breath coming in and out of your body. Feel the air filling your lungs. Notice the simple miracle of being alive in this moment. These seemingly mundane practices are portals to the present moment. They interrupt the incessant flow of thoughts and bring you back to where life is really happening. And every time you do this, every time you choose presence instead of getting lost in thoughts, you weaken the hold that the greatest enemy of your peace has over you. The journey to dismantle this internal adversary is also a journey of self-compassion. For a long time, you believed you needed to be hard on yourself, that severe self-criticism was necessary to motivate you to improve. But this approach only strengthens the enemy, creates more internal division, more resistance, more suffering. What truly transforms is kindness towards yourself. The recognition that you are doing the best you can with the level of awareness you have at this moment, and that it is okay not to be perfect. You do not need to wait until you solve all your problems to allow yourself to be at peace. You can be at peace now exactly as you are, with all your challenges, with all your imperfections. This peace does not depend on you becoming someone extraordinary. It is available to you simply because you exist, because you are alive, because you are an inseparable part of this vast mystery we call life. At the end of this exploration, you understand that the greatest enemy of your peace is not outside, it is within you. But this discovery is not a reason for despair. It is a reason for hope, because it means you have the power to change this dynamic. You have the ability to free yourself from this internal adversary through awareness, acceptance, and presence. The peace you seek has never been in some future destination, in some external achievement, in some change in the circumstances around you. It has always been here within you, patiently waiting that you stop searching outside and finally return home to the deep silence that exists behind all thoughts, to the eternal stillness that remains untouched by any temporary storm. This is the invitation. This is the possibility that is open to you in every moment, to abandon the inner war and discover the peace that has never left you. Before we go, I have one more request. Subscribe to the channel to receive more content that can guide you on this journey of self-discovery and inner peace. Comment your city in the comments below and leave your like if this message touched your heart. Your presence here is important, and sharing this wisdom with more people is a way to spread peace in the world.